I think the only way you ultimately, and this is harking back to something you asked me earlier, as I thought about it, the only thing that way you could get like a state legislature and a governor to agree, I think, to file a bankruptcy would be to implement the pre-act, which is what you were talking about a little bit earlier. Where you go, I mean, one of the things you get out of bankruptcy is you get binding of recalcitrant minorities. If you get more than 50% number, more than 2/3 of the amount of creditor class to agree, everybody else has to go along board. So if you were negotiating with your unions and your bondholders, and you had some holdouts, but you had the requisite majority, perhaps you could go to the state legislature, the governor could go to the state legislature and say, we have a deal, but we have to run it through bankruptcy, and this is what we're going to have to do. And maybe that would work, but I worry that the entry point for a state bankruptcy will create political problems so as to make it virtually impossible that anybody would ever take advantage of it.
I worry with Renee coming out and saying we're not going to bail the state down. I worry about that. I mean, who has really?
Well, I mean, practically speaking, bankruptcy will not repeal politics. That's why WorldCom was like completely irrelevant. WorldCom didn't have employees represented by the UAW. That's what nobody in Congress cared about. You're talking about hundreds of thousands. If you're talking about the pensions in particular, you're talking in a typical state about hundreds of thousands of sort of angry, scared union members who are the most politically active class of people in each of these states. And you're assuming that they're going to be kind of nowhere, while the political class, which has the power to completely change all the rules by which they operate, including over a period of no more than, say, 3 years, amending the Constitution, that political class is going to throw up its hands and declare bankruptcy and then seem to jeopardize those pensions.
But how do you look beyond those 3 years? How do you stop kicking this can down the road?
Well, I mean, I think that what has to happen is you need to actually see yourself in the way that Illinois does, paying 13% of its current general fund in pension contributions and still being behind and realizing that they're going to run out of money. And then you actually see the House Speaker turning his back on longtime allies or seeming to threaten to, and be willing to change the nature of the game. Now, it's not going to be a perfect solution, but what I'm saying is it's difficult for me to picture if we get over all these other legal obstacles, and I think the obstacle of entry into bankruptcy is overwhelming. I just don't see why, as I put it in my article.
But why are you worried about that?
I'm not worried about it. No, I'm not worried about it. This is where I come from.
I'm just saying just how worried you are about it.
I'm worried. No, here's where I come from. It's a classic small C conservative viewpoint. If it's not necessary, don't do it. And if it might have consequences that actually are negative, don't do it. I can foresee circumstances. In some cases, it's quite possible that the unions will see it in their interest.
So what would you do?
I would bankruptcy. Nothing.